We are back now to this seminar. We welcome Philippe Ducamp. Philippe Ducamp is Project Manager, International Department and Euraxess Service Center. He will talk about Euraxess, of course, and his first part will be about security social system. And from security social system, we have Aldjia LAAMARI. You are Partner Relations Project Manager in CPAM of Roubaix Tourcoing. So you're here because it's very technical, this part for PhD. So if they have any questions they can ask, then we'll translate. You don't speak English, unfortunately, but you are here. Thank you very much to be here. And we'll translate with Philippe the questions and your answer.
Sorry.
Philippe, you are talking English.
Okay.
And you can start.
Where's the camera first? Because okay, that's where I should look.
Or me, you can look at me.
First of all, welcome everyone. I would like to say welcome to each of you. It's nice to have you here. Today I will be presenting three subjects. The first one is about health insurance, together with Mrs. LAAMARI. And then we'll move on to presenting Euraxess services. So maybe some of you know already what is Euraxess, but I will develop this subject as a second presentation. And then very briefly, and I think we should not forget to do it, so I rely on Frederic to remind me so. We will say a short word about the possibility for you to take examinations in French for foreigners. So let's start with our first presentation. So it's a presentation that Mrs. LAAMARI and I have prepared. So here we go. So the title is Which Health Insurance for PhD Students in France? So this is the plan of the presentation. First, we will be giving a general picture of what is health insurance in France. What are the general principles and organization? Then we will adopt a case presentation, because your access to health insurance will depend on your status in France. So that's why you have points 2, 3, and 4, which give you information related to your status. And then in the very last part, beyond the coverage by Social Security, we will talk about getting supplemental health insurance, because in France it's strongly advised to subscribe to complémentaire santé, as we call it in France. So let's start with this presentation. Before starting, I just add that we have inserted moments when you will be able to ask questions. So you won't have to wait until the end of the presentation to ask your questions.
Okay, after each point?
Almost. In fact, it starts after point number 2.
Okay.
So let's start with point number 1. So what is health insurance? The basic principles. So the French system of social protection allows any individual residing in France in a regular manner, I will be explaining that in a few minutes, to benefit from social security for the coverage of their health expenses. The funding of these benefits is mainly provided by the contributions of all employees and employers declared in France. So what do we mean by residing in France in a regular manner? Regular manner means you have a valid residence permit. But just as simple as that. And as I said, this system of benefits is funded by the contribution of everyone. So we can say that in France, compared to other countries, we have what we could call a socialized health insurance system. If you compare it to other countries like the US, for instance, it's quite different. And how is this health insurance administered throughout the different regions of France? So it's scattered all around the country. You find local services. So that's the so-called caisse primaire d'assurance maladie. So these are the local health insurance centers. In our department, because you didn't miss this fact that you live in the Département du Nord, we have 4 CPAMs. So there is the one in Roubaix-Tourcoing, for which we have a representative today. We have another one called L'Île-d'Ouai, and then 2 more. One is Flandre, and the last one is Hainaut. So that's how the whole territory is covered. Also, and this is on national level, you find digital services for PC and smartphones. You have the amelie.fr website. That's a very useful tool because you can create an account, a personal account on this website, from which you can do various things. You can, for instance, ask for your rights certificate, your attestation de droit, and many other things, I think. Qu'est-ce que peut-on encore faire depuis son compte Amélie?
Faire les mises à jour d'adresse, demander une carte vitale, demander...
You can ask for your card vitale from the Amélie account. You can update your postal address too.
Changement de compte bancaire.
Yeah, also, if you change bank accounts, you can, communicate this to the administration.
Faire sa demande de complémentaire santé directement via son compte Amélie.
Okay. You can ask you can use this online account to ask for complémentaire santé, which is a special kind of supplemental health insurance.
C'est ça, la complémentaire.
Yes. Okay, let's move on. This is just a broad overview just to make you understand the general structure. Okay, now we start focusing on each situation. Here is the first general case. The first general case is you are a PhD student with a French wage. So I think that should be the case of a majority of you, I think, but you will tell us. A French wage, so it means that you have a French work contract. And this fact is very important because it means that every month you pay monthly contributions, and notably for health insurance. So inside this big case, first case, we have to make a distinction between those of you who come from a country which is part of the European Union, the EU, or the European Economic Area, the EEA, which includes a few other countries. So distinguish between those of you who come from the EU or from Europe or from outside Europe. So in the first case, if you come from Europe, know that you and your family will be affiliated to the CPAM starting from the very first day of your work contract. and you have a specific procedure to carry out. You will have to ask your affiliation institution in your home country to send you a specific form called the E104 form. So that's something you need to ask from your own country. And you have to send it to the CPAM, which is competent for your postal address. And then, when your file is registered, you will receive a notification mail. Then, when you have medical expenses, you will have to send what we call in France a feuille de soins, in English the medical claim form, and also proof of payment to this center, to this CPAM, in order to get refunded. But this once you have received your social security number. I would like to say a few words about this last point. Because, and I'm going to anticipate, I think, the question of many people here is the question being, when will I receive my social security number?
Yes, because you told that you could register when you on Amélie account, but without number of social security system, you cannot register.
Alors, est-ce qu'on peut s'inscrire sur le compte Amélie sans avoir son numéro définitif?
Non, il faut absolument le numéro définitif.
Okay, so we have the answer from Mrs. LAAMARI. Indeed, in order to register on the amelie.fr website, you have to get first your definitive social security number.
Okay, so how can you get it? That's what maybe your next point, no?
I'm just checking if I had. Yeah, I wanted to do the next slide.
Okay.
And then we'll take questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Then there is the second case, of course, if you come from a country which is outside the EU or EEA. In that case, you necessarily have either a visa or a residence permit called a passeport talent chercheur. And if it's not the case, it's not normal. Because if you get a French wage, then you are regarded as a salaried worker in France. And so you and your family will be affiliated to the CPAM starting from the very first day of your work contract, just like the previous case. It's the same. So the first day of coverage is your first day of the work contract. So the specificity here is that as a passeport talent chercheur salarié, you have to ask affiliation to the CPAM in Paris and not the local one. And that's very important. Know that there are two people who have to do a procedure. There is you on one side and there is your employer too. Today, it is now possible for your employer to declare you under this talent status online. So if there is a specific address that maybe we can share after the presentation. But you also have to send your own request file. And in that respect, the Euraxess Center can help you do that by going through the form that you have to fill in, giving you advice, and we can also ask advice to the CPAM as well. So that's pretty much it, I think, for this particular situation. So we have embraced here the two possibilities for a PhD student with a French wage. So this is the time for questions and answers.
Okay.
And first of all, maybe I would like to know who is in this first case, a PhD student with a French wage.
Okay. There is a little lapse time before you speak and they see. So during this time, how can they get the definitive number of security system?
Il faut parler peut-être du numéro provisoire.
Oui, donc au tout début, lorsque l'étudiant est enregistré au niveau des bases de l'assurance maladie, il a au départ un numéro provisoire parce que pas né en France. Donc il faut déjà lui donner dans un premier temps l'accès aux soins. C'est ce qui est le plus important. Donc ensuite, avec les éléments d'identité d'état civil, le matricule définitif, il est délivré. Mais c'est au niveau national en fait. Donc c'est pour ça que l'état civil, le document d'état civil avec la filiation, c'est très important pour qu'au niveau national, ils puissent décider du numéro définitif, alors que ce soit bien attribué à la bonne personne. Il n'y ait surtout pas d'homonymie ou de problème d'identité, qu'un numéro soit attribué pas forcément à la bonne personne.
Et du coup, à un moment donné, ils reçoivent d'abord leur numéro provisoire et puis une attestation de droit.
Tout de suite. Dès qu'ils sont enregistrés, ils reçoivent une attestation de droit avec un numéro provisoire.
Et c'est ça qui leur permet du coup de commencer à envoyer leur demande de remboursement.
Voilà, tout de suite, directement. Dès qu'ils reçoivent l'attestation de droit, ils peuvent s'en servir pour aller se soigner, s'en servir pour demander des prestations, combien même des aides au niveau de la CAF éventuellement, des aides supplémentaires. Ça ne gêne absolument pas. Par contre, pour pouvoir avoir le numéro définitif, c'est un petit peu plus tard. C'est grâce aux éléments d'état civil. Mais dès qu'ils ont l'attestation, ils peuvent s'en servir tout de suite, justement, pour les soins. C'est ce qui est le plus important.
Okay, so I'm going to translate Mrs. LAAMARI's answer. So, before you get your definitive social security number, in fact, you will receive first a temporary number. And you will get, you should get this temporary number not too long after you have sent your request. I don't know if est-ce qu'il y a un délai standard pour le numéro provisoire.
Dès que tout est enregistré, en général, ça va très vite. Hein. Il y a des personnes, bon, après tout dépend de la charge de travail, je dirais qu'à la CPAM, mais en général, ça va très vite, ça va très très vite.
Okay, so
ça peut être en moins de 15 jours.
Okay, normally it should come quick because it's the very first step of your procedure. So you will receive this temporary number together with a rights certificate. So it's an official document in which it said that you are covered by health insurance. So with these two things, this temporary number and the rights certificate, you will be able starting to send refund requests. Okay, not before that. You need these two. We advise you, very strongly advise you, to keep all proof of payment, all documents related to any health expenses. So with that, with your rights certificate and proof of payment, you can ask for refunds. And then in the meantime, your file will keep on being processed by the health insurance, and on national level, they will give you your definitive social security number at some point. And so you will be notified.
Okay. How long does it take, you know?
I think you cannot really give any idea of processing time because from my experience, I really saw very different processing time. So I wouldn't like to say wrong things and mislead people. So
okay. I have other questions.
But just to finish on that, there is a hotline for those who are under Passeport Talent Chercheur Salarié, so with the one getting French pay. And you can call this hotline and it's bilingual in French and English, and so you can call it to know what's your status on your file.
Okay. And a question about E104 form. Can you tell more about this? Is it automatic or they have to fill it? Where can they get it?
Alors, est-ce que le formulaire E104, c'est automatique ou peuvent-ils se le procurer? Alors, on l'a dit, ça.
Ils peuvent se le procurer à leur caisse d'assurance maladie de leur pays d'origine. Ils doivent le demander avant de venir. S'ils sont venus sans, ils peuvent peut-être le demander par mail, je ne sais pas, par directement avec leur CPAM, mais c'est leur CPAM, enfin je veux dire leur système d'assurance maladie dans leur pays d'origine qui le délivre. Okay. C'est pas nous.
Okay, just as we mentioned before, this document you have to ask it from your original health insurance institution, so in your country of origin, I guess. So that's not something you will get in France, but I think it's a kind of a standardized Europe at European level. I think it's a European form, in fact.
Okay, and when they get it, how can they send it to CPAM or by email, or they have to print and send it with the post?
Alors, comment ils doivent faire parvenir leur E104 à la CPM locale?
Tout dépend s'ils ont dû passer par le site Amélie étudiants étrangers, mais ça, c'est pas le cas des doctorants.
Pour l'instant, c'est pas
ça.
Ouais.
Donc, ce sera par mail forcément, donc via le site. Par contre, ils peuvent nous l'envoyer par courrier, donc sinon par mail. Tout dépend si ils ont un référent au sein de l'université. Donc au sein de l'université, donc dans ce cas-là, on a un lien ensemble avec la CPM de Roubaix-Tourcoing et nous on peut transmettre.
Ah ok, d'accord.
Avec la boîte mail dédiée qu'on a mis à disposition de l'université et puis du CRUS et tout ça. Donc quand il y a un problème ou une demande particulière, les services de l'université nous envoient un mail via cette boîte mail dédiée. Et d'ailleurs, c'est moi qui réponds, donc il n'y a pas de souci. Donc, et moi, je fais le nécessaire pour que le dossier soit résolu au plus vite.
Okay, so basically there are two situations. In some universities have a contact person with for the CPAM. There is a correspondent if you want. If your university, your hosting institution, have such a correspondent with the CPAM, then you can send your form, your E104 form, by email through this contact person inside your hosting institution. So the other case is if your hosting institution doesn't have this system, then you can always send your form by post, very simply.
Yeah, that was the problem, because they don't have a printer at the moment because of crisis.
Yes.
So maybe it takes time to print this form, if they have it.
In that case, I would just... wouldn't it be possible for those concerned maybe to ask their employer if it would be possible to have this document printed at work, because it's important, it's their health insurance. So
yeah, that's a good advice. Another questions?
Or at the Euraxess center as well. If you are so desperate and you really have no way of printing anything, you just come to us and we'll be happy.
If I was a student in the last 2 years, I have Account Vital, an account on Amélie, and now I am PhD student with French wage. What steps should I do?
Oh.
He's coming from outside European Union, so maybe it's after. Maybe we keep this question for the next step.
Okay, just the beginning of the question. What was he before?
He was a student here.
Only a student.
Before,
okay.
2 years.
And now
ago.
he's a PhD student with a French wage.
Yes.
Okay. And his question is, how should he? Does he have anything to do? Is that the question?
Yes. Or what are the steps, because he's from outside European Union?
Because he has a change of status.
Yeah.
Okay. En fait, c'est quelqu'un qui avant était, donc il était déjà en France, qui était étudiant et qui est devenu entre-temps donc doctorant avec donc salarié en France, doctorant salarié en France. Donc, évidemment, il a un changement de statut. Est-ce qu'il a une procédure à suivre en fait?
Il était déjà connu chez nous en tant qu'étudiant. Après ça, c'est un dossier à voir en fait. Il faudrait voir quel est le statut sur lequel nous on l'a enregistré. Donc ensuite, il devient doctorant. Mais ce n'est pas un primo-arrivant.
Non.
Donc il était déjà chez nous, donc il devient doctorant. Salarié, il va être salarié. Donc on ne va pas le changer de CPAM. Il était déjà connu dans une CPAM, donc il restera certainement dans sa CPAM de lieu de résidence. Ce n'est pas un primo-arrivant avec un passeport talent chercheur. Donc il a changé de statut entre-temps. C'est comme un étudiant qui va travailler après.
C'est ça, il n'y a rien à faire.
Il n'y a rien à faire.
Même s'il vient d'en dehors de l'Union européenne.
Mais il était déjà chez nous. Oui. Donc ce qu'il va devoir faire, c'est de toute façon la CPM lui demandera son titre de séjour s'il a été renouvelé. Donc à partir du moment, s'il n'a pas bougé, s'il n'est pas reparti, il est resté sur le territoire, il a eu simplement une évolution en fait. Ça ne changera rien si ce n'est qu'on lui posera la question sur sa régularité de séjour sur le territoire pour la continuité de ses droits.
Okay, so
et surtout que maintenant, il y
to
a...
Ibrahim, Atoum, you were a student and now you are a PhD student.
Yeah. We didn't translate the answer.
I am.
Oh, you had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just normally you have nothing to do. There is a simple evolution. You are already known by CPAM, so normally there's nothing to do for you.
But they will ask you about your titre de séjour.
Yes, maybe your titre de séjour you will need. Another questions. I have many questions.
Okay. We shouldn't take maybe too many now because we have the rest of the presentation.
Okay.
But at the end, they will have the possibility of. It seems to be a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have to keep time for Euraxess too.
Yes, you're right. Maybe we'll reply by email.
Anyway, we will remain available after the PhD event, of course. So. Then you have a second big case in which you are a PhD student with student status in France. So it means that you don't have a French wage. You don't have a French work contract. So what does it mean having student status in France? It can mean two things according to where you come from. So we are going to deal with the two possibilities. Either you come from Europe or you come from a country located outside Europe. So in the first case, you need to ask your European health insurance card. So in French it's called Carte Européenne d'Assurance Maladie, from your affiliation institution in your home country again. So that's a special card for those who come from Europe. It has to be valid, of course. It has to be valid at least until the end of the academic year. And if you have this condition filled, this institution, so in your home country, keeps refunding your health expenses. So in reality, you don't affiliate, you don't change countries. You remain affiliated to your home country. I asked the question, what does it mean to be student in France? If you come from Europe, it simply means that you have student registration in a French university. That's just as simple as that. In case of illness, you will be asked to show your card, so this EHIC card. Then all you will have to pay is the ticket modérateur. So what is that? In fact, it's a contribution which is asked from each patient, a contribution for the care costs. If you haven't received your card yet, which may be the case, you can ask for a temporary document called Certificat Provisoire de Délivrance, temporary certificate, from the healthcare services or professionals, from the French healthcare services or professionals. And we added this last sentence to make it clear. So if you are a PhD student with student status in France coming from Europe, you are not concerned with any online registration procedure. That will be reserved for the other case. Okay, let's move on to the other case. So if you come from a country located outside Europe, the first thing that we have to say is that the same rules apply to PhD students as for all students registered in a French higher education institution. You can request your affiliation to Social Security at your arrival in France by connecting to this particular website. So it's étudiant étranger Amélie FR. You will be asked to provide a copy of your French student card. But here, as you come from a non-EU country, having student status in France for you also mean that, of course, you have student registration in a French university, but you need to have a French student resident permit. So it's a carte de séjour étudiant. So you are the ones who are concerned with this online registration procedure. And it's free of charge, of course. If ever you come with children under the age of 18, they will be covered as well under the status of ayant droit, which you could translate into beneficiaries in English. So they will be covered by Social Security through one or both of their parents. And in that case, you will have, as parents, to fill in a formulaire de demande de rattachement, to have them administratively attached to you and be covered by Social Security. There is a third slide on this case, and it's still for those coming from outside Europe. So here you have a kind of diagram, a scheme if you want, to show you the different steps, procedures that you have to carry out. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to finish completely one step before starting the other. For instance, if you start with the prefecture for your residence permit, you don't have to wait to get your residence permit to start with the other procedures, of course. In fact, you have to do them rather simultaneously at the same time. So you start with the prefecture, then there is an online procedure to make yourself known from the university services, not from university services, from recruits, from the national body which runs, all aspects of student life in France. And then you will get your proof of payment of a contribution that you make, which is a general contribution for university life at university. And then, very important, you need to get your registration certificate, because it will be very, very important for various procedures. And then finally, when you have all necessary documents, you will be able to register online.
On this address, étudiant?
Yes, at this address that you see on the slide. Are there any questions?
Many.
Is there anyone concerned? Anyone under this status?
I don't know. There are many questions. For this point, we knew this. This was a question you just replied.
Well, I think you can choose whichever question because anyway, we'll take all the questions to which we were not able to answer within the time limit, and we'll answer all those questions afterwards. So,
Okay.
no problem.
It was about the application form S1106.
Yes.
The right to health insurance.
S106.
C'est le...
So, what's the question about this this particular form?
Can we make the demand of secure social security number with this form by post?
Alors, est-ce qu'on peut demander son immatriculation à la sécurité sociale par le biais du formulaire S1106 envoyé par la poste à la CPM? C'est même comme ça qu'ils le font.
Bah oui, oui, bien sûr.
Yeah.
Bien sûr, complètement.
Ok.
Pour ceux qui sont concernés, en tout cas, oui.
Pour ceux qui sont concernés, oui, mais, bien sûr, avec tous les justificatifs. Hein. Joindre les justificatifs, c'est important. Mais il n'y a pas de problème, bien sûr. Tout à fait.
Yes, of course. That's
Okay.
the way to ask for their social security number, yes.
Does the CPAM let you know if there are missing documents, or will they just wait until you end them?
En clair, est-ce que s'il y a un document ou des documents qui manquent dans leur dossier, est-ce que la CPM attend que ce soit l'intéressé qui les appelle ou est-ce qu'ils vont les contacter?
Non, il est contacté tout de suite. Non, il est contacté, on lui fait un courrier déjà pour lui expliquer ce qui manque comme document.
Parce que là, il dit que ça fait 2 mois et demi et qu'il n'a pas de réponse.
Il n'a pas de réponse, mais il était passé par la CPAM directement ou c'était par le biais du site?
Il les
C'est
avait
ça.
contactés pourquoi, surtout?
Oui, ouais. Donc du coup, après c'est un problème qu'on peut voir après.
Oui, je pense, c'est ça. C'est une situation
Ok.
spécifique.
Oui, voilà.
So,
Tu peux lui dire qu'on
Andres will see this later about your questions. Do we need to complete le titre de séjour procedure before starting the social security process, or we can start? So you told us that we can do everything in the meantime, just before now.
Alors, est-ce que la question c'est est-ce qu'ils doivent d'abord attendre l'aboutissement total de la procédure de demande de titre de séjour pour commencer seulement après à faire les démarches liées à l'assurance maladie? Je pense pas.
Non, parce qu'à partir du moment où ils ont un visa étudiant, déjà, donc ils peuvent déjà faire les démarches.
C'est ça. Avant d'avoir le titre de séjour, ils ont le visa. Et le visa en lui-même a une certaine date de validité.
Voilà, c'est ça. Pour nous, c'est valable. Et il est venu pour faire ses études, donc il n'y a pas de souci là-dessus. Non, du tout.
Tu veux lui répondre ou
Vas-y.
Okay. So to this last question, no, you don't have to complete the residence permit procedure totally. As I said, you have to initiate each procedure, at the same time, because even if you don't have your residence permit yet, you have a visa, and this visa is valid for a certain period of time. So it's totally valid for the health insurance services. Maybe at some point they will ask for your definitive residence permit, but it's perfectly okay to start with your visa.
Okay. A long question. My supervisor called, I think, the CPAM Lille to make inquiry for me on submitting demande d'ouverture des droits à l'assurance maladie. And the receiver said that I can only submit if I have an appointment, but then making an appointment requires I go there physically to first get an appointment. Je n'ai pas tout compris.
Oh, ok. Donc si j'ai bien compris, donc par le biais de quelqu'un qui travaille dans son université,
Son superviseur,
son
directeur de
supérieur,
thèse,
d'accord. Ok. En fait, il y a une demande d'affiliation qui a été transmise à la CPM de l'Île-d'Ouai, c'est ça?
Oui.
Et la CPM de l'Île-d'Ouai répond vous ne pouvez demander votre affiliation qu'en demandant un rendez-vous physique dans nos locaux. C'est ça?
Oui, c'est
Ouais.
ce que je comprends. Et comment faire dans cette période Covid?
Oui, comment... Oui, est-ce que c'est... Bah, alors après, je pense que les rendez-vous ne sont pas interdits.
Non,
mais
les rendez-vous, il faut appeler le 3646. Le 3646, c'est le numéro de téléphone de l'assurance maladie et demander à avoir un rendez-vous. Donc forcément, si l'étudiant n'a pas encore de numéro définitif, donc forcément, parce que il entame les démarches. Donc il n'y a pas de numéro et il ne peut pas avoir de compte Amélie, donc il ne peut pas faire de demande via le compte Amélie, on y est d'accord. Donc dans ce cas-là, si au niveau de la CPM de l'île Douai ne font les enregistrements que par rendez-vous, donc ils exigent le rendez-vous préalable, c'est leur organisation. Dans ce cas-là, ils peuvent demander le rendez-vous directement via le 3646.
Okay. So the answer is if you have just arrived in France and you are not known at all from the health insurance administration, then you can indeed ask for an appointment, and you can do this by dialing a special number, which is a 3646, so 3646. Okay, but it's not in English, I guess. But if you don't find anyone speaking English at the other end of the line, you know that you have your Euraxess officer.
Then we are going to talk about Euraxess
in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think now because it's
okay.
10 to noon and
okay.
Yes.
So it's
We will reply to this.
Juste si ça vraiment ça pose problème, donc que cette personne s'adresse à vous, après on peut voir ensemble et puis essayer de voir avec la CPM de l'île Douai ce qui ne va pas dans le dossier et faire en sorte que cette personne ait un rendez-vous le plus vite possible.
Okay.
On peut s'arranger déjà directement, de toute façon on se parle entre nous.
If you have any problems of this kind, just call us. We will cooperate and find out what is the problem and how we can solve it. Just 2 slides, no comments. I was just going to show them because I don't think many people will be concerned, even maybe no one, but if you are in the cases I'm going to show, just contact us after the PhD welcome event. For example, if you are a PhD student who has no French wage and you are not registered in a French higher education institution. And there are 2 cases. Either your country has signed a social security bilateral agreement with France or it has not. Okay, so I'm not going, due to the time constraint, I'm not going to expand on that. But if you are in one of these 2 cases, just contact us. Okay, no more time for questions and answers on this particular topic. So, yeah, we had to talk about supplemental health insurance just very quickly. It's really strongly advised to take supplemental health insurance because Social Security only refunds 70% of, in most cases. If you have very low income, there is a special scheme called Complémentaire Santé Solidaire, but it depends on the level of your income. So maybe you are not eligible. You have to determine whether or not you are eligible. Besides this Complémentaire Santé Solidaire, of course, you have institutions which provide supplemental health insurance. Just contact us if you want to have advice on this. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very, very much for this point about health insurance.
Okay, so are you ready for the next presentation, which will be a lot shorter, I guess? But as for the previous one, you will be able to ask questions after this presentation. So I'm going to present in broad lines what is Euraxess and Euraxess services. Okay, this is the plan. It's not too long. So what is Euraxess, for those of you who don't already know? In fact, Euraxess is one European tool in this environment that we call the European Research Area. That's a very political thing. I'm not going to discuss that, but Euraxess is one tool that Europe uses to promote research in Europe. And it's a European and global network dedicated to facilitating the mobility of international researchers, guest scholars, and their families, of course. European and global. Why global? Because you have, of course, European centers, Euraxess centers in Europe, but you also have centers located on other continents. For example, in Asia, in America. I think the only continent which is not considered right now is Africa, but I'm sure that it will come very soon. So what is Euraxess all about? In fact, the idea of Euraxess is to help internationally mobile people, researchers, and their families in their settling and in their everyday life, right, in the host country. Why? Because the European Union wants to attract international researchers to the EU. So we want to facilitate your life. It's also a collection of resources and tools, especially on some web portals. There is the Euraxess Europe web portal, and then there are national web portals in each country. In France, Euraxess France is run by the Conférence des Présidents d'Université, which gathers, the presidents of the universities in France. And in France, Euraxess has associative status. I'm not going to linger on that because we have limited time. In France, you have a network of regional centers. Actually, I wrote 30, but it's more than 40 centers right now, so spread across the country, which means if you move from one region to another, you always find a Euraxess center which can help you. And the same, of course, is true if you move from France to another country in the EU. Okay, and in France, of course, we have our national web portal, so euraxess.fr, in which you will find many resources. So I invite you to go there and look for yourself. Which services? Who is concerned? Who is the target population? So as I said, the international researchers and scholars and their families, but also the hosting institutions, so the universities and laboratories, which welcome you in their very walls. And what is the services that we provide? So the range is really wide. So multiple aspects of your stay are covered, going from visa, residence permit, health insurance, as we saw earlier, opening a bank account, finding accommodation, also information on taxation, for those of you who have children, schooling, but there is also a whole area of our services on social and cultural events, and the big rising topic at the moment, which is career opportunities. So as you see, the range is really broad. You can ask us virtually any question about any aspect of your life here. The idea is for us to give you basic information, to explain how the French system works, to redirect you to the right people, the people who are competent to give you answers, and sometimes to provide you what we call assistance. It's more than giving you information. It's to help you, doing some procedures, or it can be a lot of things. It can be checking an application form that you want to send. It can be helping you finding accommodation, and it can be very time consuming, so it's a big thing. So that is called assistance, and if you need that, just do not hesitate to do so. And of course, the final aim of all this is to have you enjoy the best of stays in our region. Make sure that you don't have big worries when you arrive and when you live here. A few words about the current projects of the Lille Hauts-de-France Euraxess Center. Two big projects. The first one is we are currently working on the creation of a regional web portal, Euraxess web portal. So you have the Euraxess Europe web portal, the Euraxess France web portal, and then there will be something that will surely be called Hauts-de-France web portal. So you will find a lot of information specific to our region. For example, regarding accommodation possibilities or such things. But the idea is to give specific regional information. Okay, so you can have access to a broad range of services. So the question is, how do I get access to all these wonderful services? Well, the first step that you have to take is to get registered. You have to make yourself known from us. The best way to do so is to get registered on the FNAC database. Okay, what is that? In fact, it's quite unique in the Euraxess network, as far as I know. In France, we have a database which is dedicated to foreign researchers. So basically, you fill in a form with basic information, and then it is validated at some point, and then you have a profile on this database. In order to have your profile validated, it's important we ask your contact person inside the hosting institution the confirmation that indeed you are welcome in the laboratory in the university. But that's the only confirmation we need, and it's very quick, very easy. It will take you no more than a few minutes, I think. And you may want to ask the question, but what is the use of this tool? Why should we register on a database? Well, there are two advantages. First, you give us information that we need to answer your needs, because for instance, when you ask us for help for accommodation, we need some information, basic information to process your request. It's just as simple as that. For example, your age can be quite important in regards to accommodation. The second benefit is that you will be kept updated on the evolution of the Euraxess services and all the events that we regularly organize. I also add that this database is, one, free. It's totally free of charge, of course, as are Euraxess services in general. And two, and it's very important, it is compliant with the European General Data Protection. So there is no worry to have about the security of your personal data. Okay, so you have the address here. You can also register in French, of course. There is a French version. And that's all. I think for Euraxess, it's very broad terms, but...
So I can give your email to students if they want to contact you? Yes?
Completely, yeah.
Okay.
After the PhD welcome event, you will communicate my email address or even my phone number. We can arrange to have a phone appointment if you want. So yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I will send an email to all PhD students with your phone and email address. So I will send you also the list of the questions I have there. copy and pasted them. Just, yes, a few words on Centre de langue.
Yes,
Language Center.
Okay.
So for European or foreign students, there is this center that exists. Can you tell us a few words?
Yeah, of course. Okay, just a very last, that was the point number 3 in the order of the presentations. A very quick word about the examination center. Well, it's an examination center specialized for French for foreigners exams. So, you will be concerned if you have already followed some French for foreigners courses, if you have reached a certain level. It doesn't have to be a very high level, but if you want at some point to get your level of French certified, then you have to take an exam. And so you have to contact this center asking to be registered for an examination on French for foreigners. So we actually have a colleague, Nermin Meyer, who is in charge of this service. So you have on your screen the web address on which you have to go. So this is the information section on this French for Foreigners Examination Center. You can see the title is DELF. DELF and DALF are diplomas. They are both diplomas that you can take just to ask for the certification of your level of French. These two diplomas are valid for life. Once you pass these examinations, the diplomas are valid your whole lifetime. And then there is a third one, which I think you can see. Okay, if I move the mouse, can they see it? Yeah, I guess so. Here, you have a third one called TCF. I'm going to say just a few words because I'm not a specialist, but I know that this particular, it's not a diploma, it's a test that you can take for example, professional reasons, and it's valid for 2 years only. So you need to know that. So if you are interested at some point about taking such an examination, you need to contact, you see at the end of the page, at the bottom of the page, you have this Inscrivez-vous, register button. And also you have
phone number,
all the contact information on the right side of this page.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you very much. So we are coming back in 2 or 3 minutes. We will have 3 students, PhD students, but old PhD students. They are in France from 1 or 2 years or more, and they will share their experience with you. So we are coming back in a few minutes.